Let's talk about how to pass the first round interview for Coca-Cola. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English, here to help you get hired. We break down the interview and recruitment processes for world famous companies to help you pass their interview. And if you want more help passing your Coca-Cola interview, then make sure you check out our Pass the Interview pack with the link down in the description below. Today we're going to be talking about Coca-Cola, the FMCG giant which really needs no introduction and which we've all known and loved since our childhood. This Pass the Interview video is split into 3 parts. First of all, we're going to talk about their recruitment process and what you can expect from start to finish, the most common questions which came up in interviews, and finally other questions which came up. This is all based on our research from publicly available sources from candidates who have been through the process in 2022. Let's get started with Coca-Cola's recruitment process and what you can expect. And all of this is taken from our research note, which you can find in your Pass the Interview pack. Candidates reported that the entire process took a month. They applied online, did some online tests. There were then 2 rounds of interviews. One was with human resources and then a department manager. Candidates said it was a standard interview, scenario-based questions, nothing terribly difficult, just looking for confidence. In some cases, you might be interviewed again in the second round by a hiring manager, maybe another manager from a different department. Sometimes people ask me what's the difference between, say, a first round interview of HR and then a second round interview with a department manager. HR interviews just tend to be screening interviews, so they'll walk through your CV, they'll want to know your basic motivations for applying for the job. The main thing they're trying to get a read on is, do you actually want to do this job? Have you kind of slipped through the net by accident? When you're talking to a department manager, a director, this is a process you'd sometimes go through with investment banks. Then they're trying to kind of figure out your specific skill set for that role, that department, and where you'd fit in. And for the assessment centre, during our research, we found no records of candidates attending an assessment centre. Let's talk about the most common questions that came up for Coca-Cola, and there were 3 of them. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, whenever you get asked this question, first of all, don't say, well, hopefully I'd be travelling, I would have started my own business, I'd be qualified and I'd be working at another company, I'd be working in another country. You'd be amazed the amount of times that I've been through this question with clients and they've basically said, well, probably not here because 5 years is a long time. Every company sets out to invest and grow someone as if they're going to stay with the company forever. Although statistically that's really quite unlikely, you don't want to give any impression that you're not going to be there in 5 years. So first of all, the best response to this question is here at Coca-Cola. And then thinking about where you're going to be in the management structure. Will you have qualified for the qualification you're going to sit? Would you be expected to be a project manager, a senior manager, a director? Would you be running a series of branches? There'll be kind of a chain of evolution that will go on in that company. If you're not really sure, then make sure you read up on Coca-Cola's website, look for some case studies of people who've worked at Coca-Cola or similar FMCG companies and what they were expecting to be doing in a couple of years' time. Question 2, what are your strengths? Now, it's really important that you have the job description to hand. Very often when people are asked about their strengths, they'll say, hey, what are your strengths? They'll be like, I'm a great people person, I'm really sporty, I'm quite athletic, I won't stop talking. And they start to naturally talk about things which they believe personally they are really good at. And that's fine. But the job description will clearly state the skills and strengths that they are looking for. Maybe they need you to be really good at Excel or have great client-facing skills. Whatever it is, make sure that you're matching up your strengths to those skills. Now, you don't need to lie. You don't need to turn around and talk about things that you're not particularly good at, because bearing in mind, when you offer these strengths, you need to provide some form of proof. And that proof comes in experience. You could say, well, I'm a really good people person because for the 3 years that I was at university, I've been part of our society football team, and I've actually been the captain for the past year. So I've had to learn to get really good with people. So I have to round up 20 hungover guys on a Saturday morning and drive them all to a football match, for example, right? So you need to provide proof for those strengths. Now, ideally, if you're thinking about, well, how many strengths am I going to list? Probably 3 or 4 is a good number, because that's enough time for you to name the strength, provide the experience that shows the proof, and then move on to the other strength. What the interviewer really wants to hear is the skills that they're looking for in that candidate. Go, oh, they're good with people, that's great. Literally in a multinational company, and I've seen this before from internal grading sheets, they will have a list of skills that are written down, and they will be ticking those off as they go through them. Have they demonstrated good teamwork? Have they demonstrated good interpersonal skills? And if they haven't, then they'll probably ask you a similar-ish question again, because they need to tick off that skill if you're going to proceed through the interview. Question number 3, how do you deal with complex situations? Now, this seems like a little bit of a weird question, how do you deal with complex situations? But any business is by its very nature complex. Sometimes when I'm speaking to graduates, they're like, well, I had this one project to do and then this happened, and I think, wow, I wish that life was like that. Generally, as a business owner, as an employee, as a manager, as a friend, and just really living life. Life is complex. Life demands a certain element of organisation, time management, and the ability to kind of have multiple things going on all at the same time. So dealing with a complex situation, this is a competency-based question. And really dealing with complexity is about planning, breaking it down into its simple parts, organising your time effectively, allocating your time, and then being organised and disciplined to get those things done. So you're going to want to use an example using the STAR format: situation, task, action, result. Where were you? What were you doing? What were the actions you took, and what were the results that you achieved? And you really want to concentrate the majority of your answer on the actions that you took. So these are the things that I had to do. This is how I planned it out. This is how I allocated my time. This is how I stayed organised, and this is how I made sure that I got things done. And that's going to enable you to deliver a really crisp answer. And the result should be, these are the 3 things that I had to do and I got them done well. If you're wondering, well, do I need to do 3 things? Do I need to do multiple things? Or if it's just a complex situation? For me, complexity basically means there's more than 2 variables. So I'd say 3 variables. Those 3 variables could be 3 things that are going on in one situation, or it could be 3 objectives that you're trying to meet. It just seems to lend itself more towards, well, that is actually kind of complex, instead of just, I did 1 variable and then I did another variable. Let's talk about a couple of other questions that we came across which we really liked. The differentiation between other questions and common questions is, we see common questions repeated multiple times by different people who've been through the process at Coca-Cola. So therefore, statistically, we feel like these questions are more likely to come up. Why should I be selected for the role? So this is very similar to why this role. If you want to see an in-depth explanation how to answer this question and a free worksheet, make sure you click the card up above. When someone asks you why you want to do a job, your natural inclination probably say, because I'm amazing, because I need a job, because I can start right now. Really what you want to do is you want to think, well, first of all, I need to let you know that I understand what the job is. And second, that I have the skills that you need to do this job really well. And this is why having the job description to hand is so important, because what you want to do first of all is just explain what you'd be doing, and then list out 4 or 5 responsibilities that you'd be expected to do on a daily basis. After that, you can list out your skills, your strengths. And again, that might be 3 or 4 which are taken from the job description and say, look, I've got really good attention to detail because I've done this thing. I've got really good numerical skills because I have done this thing. Skills plus proof. As you move through those items, and really, it becomes quite obvious why you should be selected to do the job. Why should I select you to do the job? Well, you understand what you're going to be doing. You're not just here by accident. And also, you have the skills and the strengths that I'm looking for. So So you seem like a good fit. Question 2, what are some of your accomplishments? Now, I really like this question. It's quite similar to what is your greatest achievement, but maybe I would pick 2 or 3. Now, really importantly, I would pick accomplishments that you personally are very proud of. Something that you look back on and you think, wow, I can't believe that I did that. So, for example, for me, recent accomplishments that I'm really proud of is that recently I celebrated 10 years of sobriety from drugs and alcohol. I became a Krav Maga martial arts instructor, and also I lost some weight and got back into exercise. I was really proud of that. Not because I've been particularly overweight, but I was just over the weight that I wanted to be as I strive towards the body and the physical health that I would like to have. Now, none of those things are really related to work. I could give you lots of really cool and impressive stats from Job Ready English and the business that it sits under, One Warrior Limited, but actually the things that I am immensely proud of are kind of an aside from work. If anything, they are the foundation. Martial arts is a foundation to my discipline. My recovery, my sobriety is a foundation to my life. Without being sober, I couldn't do all these other things. Losing weight is a foundation to my personal identity and my sense of self-esteem. These are all things that I am personally deeply proud of. So when you list those out, just think of things. If I could only tell one story that I would impress someone, what would those be? Question 3, tell me about yourself. Now, this is your personal introduction. If you want an in-depth explanation on how to answer this question and a free worksheet, click the card up above. Now, personal introduction is really just 5 parts. What are you doing now? What have you done in the past or the last 3 to 5 years if you're a professional? What would you like to do? Work experience, extracurricular activities, volunteering, and finally your skills and interests. They could be IT, languages, and some hobbies. And as a bonus, if you kind of want to finish on something, finish on a hook. So for me, sometimes when I'm talking to people and I want to finish on a hook, I'll say to them like, well, I've actually self-published 4 books of poetry. And they're like, wait, what? I go, really? And it's a really good conversation starter as well. So exactly the same for you. If you've never done an interview, this is your first interview, or you're just like, I'm not very good at interviews, tell me about yourself, or refining a personal introduction is a fantastic place to start to build confidence and to learn how to sell yourself. Question number 4, why do you want to work at Coca-Cola? So answering why do you want to work at this company, there are a few things to remember. Number 1, you shouldn't really talk about yourself. A lot of people talk about companies in terms of, well, I'd like to work at this company because it'd be good for me and I would learn these things and I would get to do this and I would get to do that. And there's this big giant company just going, I don't really care. Like, it's about what's good for me, not really what's good for you. I mean, there are loads of people out there who'd like to apply for this job. So you want to pick out 5 or 6 key facts, and they should be unique, specific, and not generic. I'm going to read out one of the facts from our research note, because we always put 5 fast facts for any company. On May the 8th, 1886, Dr. John Pemberton served the world's first Coca-Cola at Jacobs Pharmacy in Atlanta, Georgia. From that one iconic drink, we've evolved into a total beverage company. And also, did you know more than 1.9 billion servings of our drinks are enjoyed in more than 200 countries every day? It's nuts. Almost 1 trillion servings of Coca-Cola every year. These are really key specific facts. Now, if you want to spice up your answer a little bit, maybe relate the fact to yourself. I can remember personally growing up as a kid, I grew up on a council estate in Lewisham. It was just me and my mum, and Coke was actually a treat. So we didn't have a lot of money and we couldn't really afford it. And if my mum was feeling, really generous, or I'd been a really good boy, she'd buy me a can of Coca-Cola. And I just remember that taste. It always just kind of takes me back of me thinking, man, this is really nice. Question number 5. How do you handle stress? Now, this is another competency-based question. It sounds like a strength-based question in the sense it's like, how do you handle stress? Very well, end of answer. Technically, you have answered the question, but you haven't really provided me an example, right? Do you go to the gym? Yes, I do. The next question would be, well, what do you do? How much do you do? How often do you do it? And it's exactly the same thing with this. So how do you handle stress? I handle stress well, but mainly because I have learned to be organised, to be prioritised, and to manage my time really well. And then you can launch into your star answer. You can talk about the situation and the task that you faced, the actions that you took to handle stress, and the results that you achieved. Now, for me personally, as somebody that has lots of competing priorities and is often kind of almost fighting to find the time to do everything, I find that really it is a time allocation problem. It's the things that I choose to do, and more importantly, it's the things that I choose not to do. My ability to say yes to a few things is strongly determined to my ability to say no to a lot of other things. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video about Coca-Cola's first round interview and that it's been helpful. If it has, please like this video, drop us a comment down below, let us know how we did we help you, what other videos would you like us to make, what else could we do to have been more helpful. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I wish you the best of luck in your upcoming interview. See you later.